Welcome to Thursday, everyone. It's time for another awesome FileMaker day where we're doing awesome FileMaker things that are very FileMaker-y. That's not an official terminology, very FileMaker-y. So it's Thursday at fmtrain.tv where we do great, awesome, exciting stuff. I said awesome about 12 times. That is because it's truly awesome. If you're interested in knowing about the upcoming broadcast training schedule, you go to fmtrain.tv where we have all that. And you can check the live information here. This is a live feed from FileMaker. Yes, we eat our own dog food here. So if we make Alpo dog food, we break out a can of that, pour it in a bowl, and we chomp down on it. So this is DAPI, Data API, out of FileMaker server 18 or 19. I think it's 18 for the moment. It will be 19 at some point when we switch it over. But these are 6 data records that are coming out of there showing the upcoming schedule, the next 6 broadcast days. All right, so Andy, are you there? You ready to start today? Andy.
Yes.
Show your screen, Andy. Show your screen, Andy. Are you there? This is Andy. So if Andy feels it looks a little jittery and unusual, it's because he's a brand new engineer. He's still largely afraid of me, which is probably a good thing. And he's been working on this charting project. And so the long story short, we're trying to build a charting app into an iPhone for an aviation application. And so we needed a vertical chart. And so Andy's been wrestling with this, and he did enough useful things with it that I thought we should bring it back and talk about it. So basically what we're doing today is JavaScript-based charts that work in a web viewer. So remember, Larry asked a question, really great question. It's like, why should I care about web viewers and why does it matter? And so, for example, FileMaker has some charts in it that are pretty limited and are not super customizable and kind of suck, right? And so what most people who need charts do, they don't use the built-in charts in FileMaker. They actually use a third-party source of charts. There's a lot of different third-party sources. We've talked about Fusion charts quite a few times. This is a competitor to Fusion charts. I thought it was actually totally free, but it's not totally free. So you can get the charting system we are using today. I'm going to jump down here. I'm going to see if I can pop this up. It's called AnyChart. So I'm going to type AnyChart. And this is them right here. And so they're basically JavaScript, a lot like Fusion charts. I don't know that their prices are better or worse. I just know that they're free if you're doing like educational stuff. So like we're doing education, we're going to give a sample file out. It uses AnyCharts. It's free. That's a legal license. But they have like different licenses. So if you wanted a product, they have a perpetual purchase of the product for $800. You own it for life. And so they have you can use it on a website. So Andy, do you want to demo it or do I want to demo it or how are we going to demo this thing? We want to show it on your, why don't we show it on your screen?
Okay, sounds good.
So we're going to go, so you're going to flip to show your screen. All right, so everyone be nice to Andy. I'm going to move my box share out of the way. Looks pretty large. All right, so we have the sample file. I've already posted it. If anyone has questions, let us know. All right, so what are we doing? So let's talk about the one that I care about immediately. So that was this one right here. Andy, can you show us that one? So the idea was that if you're wherever you're at, and this is not the most common chart. You're like, it's a sideways bar chart, but it always is like this. And the idea is that you have a green section or different colored sections or whatever you have. Do you actually have the app, the sensor app that we had?
Do I? Yeah.
Pop that open just for fun, right? We're not going to get into mechanics of why we're doing what we're doing here, other than to say that this is the generic version of this sensor app right here. And to be honest with you, I was wrestling with it because it's really hard to fly and it's really hard to wrestle with the app at the same time. And so if I have to spend more than 5 to 10% of my brain on it, I just give up and shut it off. So it's designed in an iPhone app right now. I'm gonna upsize it to an iPad mini. So what we did is you'll notice that it's over here, and if actually you can move it, I want to see both of them side by side, Andy. So can we do that briefly, and then do a zoom in on this so we can get a little bigger here, like a zoom, and then move this one over that way a little bit. Command plus is the zoom. There you go. All right. So what he did is he's changing the colors. He figured out how to do this cross hashing, which is like kind of this warning area, right? So in here, obviously it's all good. If we're flying along in an aircraft and we're in this area here, it's like a warning area. Then this means something. And then obviously this means something. This is obviously good. This is obviously really bad. And then you have in between really bad. You have these areas in here. So we are still experimenting with this. We're looking at the interface made by a major company online. They're running around showing this off. And our product is already, it's a piece of hardware, but it's obviously probably a Raspberry Pi and some sort of aircraft instrument that's got a digital screen on it, if I had to guess what they built it with. But their interface is horrifically bad. Like it doesn't make any sense. And so you could tell that it was made by people who actually don't fly, right? And so there's this disconnect between the pilot and the software. So what we did is we built this. We're like, hey, this is really great. Why don't we show people this off? Well, why don't we take this out, extract it, make a generic sample file so you have that right here. So if we just cut, you can go ahead and close this for now. I just want to show kind of where that came from. If you go to layout mode, you'll see that this is a web viewer, right? And there you go. So it hangs out over here. You can change the numbers. If you break any of these web viewers, any of these charts, you break them, then what you're going to do is you're going to go back and hit the input sample data button at the top. So if you can put things in, it'll automatically redraw. If you break it, then just push the button at the top, right? Yeah.
Or
why don't you walk us through it? Why don't you walk us through how this works real quick? And then I will, yeah, there are 2 commands in there that are 19 specific. So.
Okay, sounds good. So
pretend like we're newborn babies and we have no idea what you're talking about.
so here's my comment. Just make a JSON object.
All right. So then you're building this JSON. So this is the JSON that you build right here.
Yeah, I'm just setting stuff.
Okay.
All the fields into strings.
Okay.
Like
right.
cart title, max.
Okay.
And then I just.
And you use.
And then I just.
You send that. So the perform script. The other way you would do this is you would do the open URL in the web viewer. It's how you do it in the old way. So Wally, I mean, you could always no 18. Wally's on 18. So that's Wally. Listen, I even have 18 on about. I don't know. I have about 8 or 9 computers that I run around all these offices and I work on, and 2 of them still have 18 on them because I never put 19 on them. So I do run into this issue. That's how this works. We send it there. We don't get data back from the JSON. It just displays, correct?
Correct.
So it's not like where the JavaScript brings data back. Why don't you show us the other the charts real quick? Because this is pretty cool stuff. Go ahead and just close out of the script to workspace and then show us the. So yeah, you got this. You got the funnel chart. This is really good. Like if you're like a vice president or someone in charge of some sort of sales process, I can see all the salespeople getting all excited about this, right? It's like, oh, I got this, and I got this, and I got this. So this is very generic, and you can change the colors, you can change the text, you can do all that kind of stuff. So this is all built in. These sample files are unlocked. You can play with this. That's this chart. Next chart. Next chart.
Going.
This one's kind of cool because it's 3D, which is kind of cool. And they're kind of going 3 bands. All the colors are really horrible, but you could pick different colors, right?
Yeah, you can change it in the settings.
Yep. So that's pretty neat. Once again, you can change, once you change a couple of the data points here, like make a big change, like make it 1,000 or something. All right, so yeah, and so it's dynamically changing in real time, which is great. I love it. And if you break it and it can't run anymore, then just put new, fresh data, go back to the default right there. Okay, so questions, comments. Michael Gravel, website statistics demo is flattened in Windows, not nice. Website statistics demo, which one is that? Is that one of the demos here?
I think it's the funnel.
The funnel doesn't work on Windows? Did you test this? Okay, Andy, here we go. Junior question. It's in the book. The book in here says specifically test on Mac and test on Windows. And then if you have anyone on iOS, you have to test on iOS. And you might have to test on Android if you're using WebDirect. So did you do that, Andy? Did you follow my book?
I did not test on Windows.
Okay. That's not great. All right, so any one of you, so the Windows people, if you can give me a damage report, it's like everything's shaking. We're taking damage. Engine room, I need a damage report immediately. Like, what's working and what's broke? Scotty, need power. All right, so any of you got Windows, I need a damage report from the Windows side. Okay. The funnel works fine on Windows for me. The 3D line works fine for me on Windows. It looks like the funnel one might be a little bogarted. So The last one's kind of interesting, the cloud tag demo. So I want to check this out. So this is a deal where you dump a bunch of text in it, right? And it's almost like, and if you've read the Steve Jobs book and you see this, it feels like you're in the middle of the Steve Jobs book or listening to him talk, right? Jobs did some really amazing things. And so what it does, you put the block of text in here, then it comes, and then you tell what words to ignore. Then it displays kind of just graphically, visually, all the top words. And the biggest words are the ones that he said most. So he talked about life, and he talked about they, he talked about your, and then very, right? And then months and years and want and great. I mean, he says great a lot in there, right? All. And he says we, me. So me is bigger than we, right? So the question is this indicative of a narcissistic personality, right? Maybe, maybe not. But very educational. In fact, what we want to do is we're going to go to our tech support over a period of time and feed it in and see what kind of words come out. Questions about this. I mean, we're not in this very long. But questions about how you, I mean, why don't you walk through this part here? Why don't you explain this to us?
So I took like inspiration from our calendar, and you can see like I use a substitute command to insert the CSS right here.
What CSS? And where's the CSS at?
CSS is right here.
Okay, so.
Very simple.
Okay.
Setting the width and height of the container and the body.
All right, so so listen, back up. Let's pretend that no one here knows anything. So normally you would say open URL and you would send it the HTML open insert from URL into the web viewer, right, or something like that, right? And we would target this file here. Are you still doing that? Or are you doing the JavaScript? And what are you specifically identifying for the JavaScript with that script step?
Okay, so I split up the web viewer code. I split up the HTML, split up the CSS, split up the JavaScript, so I can read it easier. So here's like the bare bones structure of the code. This is what the web viewer's gonna use, except for I substitute this piece of text for all the stuff in here that's in my CSS. And then I do the same thing for this JavaScript. I substituted for the JavaScript of only one of the charts, and then if you go in the final sections is like what the web viewer sees with the substitution. So like here's the links to all the AnyChart stuff. Here's my style tag with my CSS right here.
So this makes more sense. So everyone's following along. So those of you, so Megan, help me out here if you're confused. Like I didn't need to know. He's sending this to the web viewer. But to construct it, he is going to insert this into it, and then also he's going to pick one of these items here. So you get the CSS plus then one of these. You get two of them that goes in here. He does that first, then it goes to the web viewer, then the web viewer kicks it out. And then he's saying that these over here are kind of like a simulation of what the web viewer will see if you press the button to generate this stuff, right? So this one, this one, or this one, this one. So this is like the completed, this is like the completed cake if the baking channel, like Christian Olsen is here cooking a cake on an add-on. And this is the flour, this is the eggs, this is the milk. Then you have to have a little spot where you give it, cookies. You have to have a little bit of love for the cookies, right? And you put that in there, and out comes your final baked item, right? Yes? What are we doing here? Walk us through, pick one that we want to do, right? Like the gauge. That's the vertical gauge? Okay. Yeah. Walk us through this a little bit. This is kind of interesting.
So then first line, just straight off the bat, I'm going to create the vertical gauge object using AnyCharts. All these functions are from the AnyChart library. So I create the gauge, and then I create that marker. And then I also set a counter. So this is used for when I redraw it, because I don't want to draw charts on top of charts. I only want to have one. It's used later. And then here's my comment block for the JSON object, how it's structured.
Okay, so that's comment block. Hey, Megan, you follow that. He put the double slashes in there. So this is important, Megan, to know this. So FileMaker supports this kind of mostly. Is that you can start these two slashes comment out just a line, but on the next line it would resume. So then for each individual line, you do that. But if you want to comment a whole block, you do in FileMaker, you kind of do this slash and a star, and then it goes all the way through over to over here. So this means all this code is commented out. It could be in the middle of a calculation field. It doesn't matter. It won't be executed. So that's a good kind of a junior person tip. So keep going. You're good.
And then here's the main function. This function FileMaker. This is the function FileMaker calls. It's called main, and here's the parameter. And the parameter is this JSON object. So I parse the JSON, and then I take it and I assign all my variables based off the key in the JSON. So like chart title, I'm assigning this my variable a chart title to the JSON object's chart title, and depending, it's whatever you put in the file. So all these are just me setting variables from the JSON object.
So the JSON object is a string of text, so plain English for Megan and other basic people. So we send this a block of text. We send in a block of text. It's the text is received. Then this thing is going to tear it apart, that block of text. It finds this piece and it assigns it. So assigning these variables, because these var, all these little variables in here, are actually used by the charting engine, wherever the hell that's at, right?
Yeah.
Now, is the charting engine in here, or are you referencing it online from the AnyChart people?
I'm referencing it online from the AnyChart people.
Okay, so somewhere in here we make reference to that, right?
Somewhere. Yeah, all these right here, like all these, like AnyChart. When you see AnyChart, I'm calling their library.
Okay. Now I have a question in the in our aviation app thing that we're trying to do. One of the issues is that I may not be in the middle of internet connection, right? So we can't, for an aviation application, it has to be able to work offline. You can't say, oh, sorry, your instrument panel doesn't work because you don't have an instrument connection. You're all going to die, right? I mean, that's just obviously stupid. So you figured out how to download the library on that file? Is that what you did?
Yeah, I signed up for their AnyCharts, and they let me download the actual library, and then I imported into
so this is really important. So I'm going to do a little hand waving here. So Megan, you follow this. So this is really important. So because there's concepts here, right? So this is what makes most of us nervous about web viewers, and it hasn't been too horrible, but like 360 Works has run into it, stuff like that. So you have a solution like this. This entire solution here is dependent upon a internet connection and a server up on the cloud. And so say the people up on that server is no longer available because they're offline. They get hacked, or they move buildings like Claris and it's down for a day or a week. Then this chart doesn't work at all for a day or a week. Or if the AnyChart people change the code. Or say, for example, that Microsoft does something. Everything's working great, and they issue a bug release or patch release where, oh, we've got a vulnerability. We're going to fix some security hole. And they break their web viewer. And so you have this dependency on code. This chart is dependent upon code that exists somewhere else. That makes sense? Now, if we download it into like a text field, right? Is it in the other app? You stick it in a text field somewhere, like a container? Or something?
I had to split it up because it was a lot. The library was pretty big, so I split it into like 5 different text fields.
Okay, so it's in these text fields, and so the chart can render locally, so it doesn't need an internet connection, which is great, right? And that also means if the charting people change the chart without your knowledge, then it doesn't necessarily change your application until you're ready to change it, right? It's kind of like, it's like Claris, for example, with Cloud 2.0, you're hosting with them, and then they forcibly force a server update, and they force a server update, and they force a server update. I guarantee the senior management team has not dealt with pissed off customers down there where they do a update, and then they basically brick is the term. They brick the customer's access to the data. So the customers are using Cloud 2 came out with FileMaker 18. Customer installs FileMaker 18. Claris has been updating Cloud automatically. So now the Cloud, whether the customer knows it or not, Cloud 2 is version 19. There is no Cloud 2. That's 18. They update all the servers. And say your office is still using 18, right? Then what happens when Claris comes out with version 20 or whatever they're going to call it? And then are they going to allow backwards compatibility with 2 versions, right? Or is it one day people going to wake up and they can't access their server because Claris forcibly updated their server? As a developer, I worry about stuff like that. And since Claris hasn't articulated a strategy like, hey, this is what we're going to do, I'm nervous that they fully thought this all the way through, right? And so I'm not bagging on them at all, but I'm saying this is that kind of conversation where your solution is dependent upon someone else's common sense. That may or may not be good. I'm just saying that that's why we would take it offline. So why I would take the server offline, we can control it. So even if Claris brick does something horrible, you run your own server. But it means you have to have your skills to run your own server. It means that you have to have the skills to download these libraries. Does that make sense? I kind of beat this up, but it's kind of a fundamental concept. I don't know if I talk about it in here, but it should be in here. If it's not, I'll have to add it in the future. But it's the idea of not pickling yourself into a corner, right? All right, so at AL92651 has a question for you. Where is the CSS code assigned the name of CSS1 so I can reference CSS1? Where's the, he wants to know where's the substitution at, I think.
Oh, in the data viewer, if you go to the HTML table.
Oh, you just wrote a calculation that did it. Okay.
Yeah.
If it was me, I would have written that into a script step. But remember, in the progression of learning, oh, that's not in this book. Do I have a progression of learning anywhere? No. Progression of learning, beginner, intermediate, advanced. Andy's at the beginner stage. He's happy that this just works. He's not thought about performance on a giant scalability kind of session. So beginner people do stuff like this, right? And then they move along, and then they start, and then they find out there's performance issues. So it's in the book. That was the section we proofread and finished yesterday, chapter 2. The sample that you're getting is linking to, I'm not going to get into content delivery networks. I'm just going to say it's linking to the AnyCharts website, okay? It's a sample file. My offline sensor application that we're trying to use in aviation, it's unacceptable to require an internet connection for the chart to render. It has to be able to work without an internet connection, right? When you're flying along at 8,000 feet in the middle of nowhere, right? Like there's no humans within 100 miles. There's not going to be any internet, right? There's no magical satellite dish on top of the helicopter beaming into space, right? That's not reality. I mean, some of you probably think that does exist. I guess if I could drop another $100,000 on an aircraft, you could get that. But then what if the satellite is damaged, or a piece of space debris hits it, or Kyle gets excited and JSONs it and kills it? I mean, the point is that you don't want to be, you don't want fragility in life and death kind of applications. You want it to be robust and happy. AL92651 says, what would be the process to install libraries locally? You want to talk about that?
Yeah, at least for AnyChart.
I'm going to make it full screen. You can talk about that.
You had to, for AnyChart at least, you have to like sign up for them. And it's free to sign up. And like, yeah, you can hit this download. So like you fill this out. And then let's see if I can log in, because I did make an account.
Cool. Ruben says, do you have a course on how to prepare data for chart visualization? A course for that? Not really, no. It's how to prepare. I mean, if it was a course, it'd be what, an hour or two? Yeah, I mean, Ruben, I want to answer your question, be as responsive as possible. So you have data and you're trying to prepare it for injection. I mean, that's why you should play with this sample, right? Oh, say large data sets, running performance.
Like, here's the, like, I actually downloaded it.
Okay.
And this is their library.
So the short version, you took all this out and you blocked this and stuck it into basically text fields in FileMaker.
Yeah.
And our offline copy, right? Yeah.
Yes. And then there's just a bunch of functions. And then when you would put it in the JavaScript, you could just have it like you have to reference it like first thing, so then your functions can see it.
Right.
So like it would be like.
right? So that's so instead of getting it from online, it's going to get it from a local source. Is kind of the important part of that. I mean, we could make the sample file available to you, AL92651, if you want to, but it's people ask. I mean, I do get questions about, here's a free sample file, then they want me to provide free tech support for it, and there's only so much free we can do during the day, otherwise I go out of business. So so if you want what we could do is we could take the aviation sensor one. We'll strip everything out except for the chart and the download part, and then they can see that. That's a good point. I guess we should have thought of that. Although I don't know if we can legally do that. Can we distribute that as an educational piece? I don't know that they're going to want us to do that. That might be a problem. Yeah, because it's their code. I mean, we're legally licensed. We're doing training education on it. In this case, they're referencing the online version. Basically, you're going to need a coaching session on this. Alpha Lima 92651. If you want to get a coaching session with Andy, like I said, basically we offer free coaching, 1-hour coaching sessions to pretty much anyone who wants it, as long as it's a topic that the tech support team can cover. If you want to spend your 1 hour working with Andy on this topic, you can do that. Just email support. If you haven't had a free coaching session yet, that's fine. Most of the time we do free coaching sessions for people to try it out. And then they typically will buy more time. But if you just want to do a quickie one-time thing, then Andy will help you with a quickie, right? A one-time coaching session. Ruben, if you have a question about how to prepare the data, that might be another kind of conversation there. But basically, if we jump back to the sample over here, basically to prepare the data, say like we're going to do let's just do the gauge one, right? Basically, that's the top of the bar there is 15,000, whatever that is. That's another spot, that's a spot, that's a spot, that's a spot, right? And then that's the marker position. So in this case, that's the data you have to prepare. So the question is, how do you get that data out of your data? I don't know. What does your data look like? I mean, that's the thing, Ruben. It's like the question is like, how do we get, like, give me another one. Give me the funnel chart would be probably simpler to understand. Give me the funnel one. So you have to generate these items here. It's a value list. That's one of those like value list moments. And this is another value list. And these positions here match over here, right? And so you have to get these values. How are you going to get these values? You have to basically script a process that will capture that number and create a value list, right? All this is a number and a carriage return. It's like someone in here type the number, carriage return, type the number, carriage return. You can create a script that will loop and do that for you, right? There's a bunch of ways of doing it. We actually talk about that in our video. This part of it actually is in our video training. We talked about this in our video training. I'm going to make it a little smaller here. Let me see. Is my video training. Let me go into training here. Let me open this up. Go back over here. It's funny because that's people ask the question all the time, and I feel bad if I didn't have an answer. But then suddenly, I did this training. Actually, it's very relevant. And if you do chart, we're caching the chart. Dashboards part 1, 2, 3 performance. These videos right here, and it has to do with caching chart data and storing it in that exact scenario. We create virtual lists. Not virtual. It doesn't matter. It's a value list. We create a value list with a script, and then you feed that into the chart, and the chart renders it. And so we cover it in these videos right here. That's part of our paid video course. So I would feel bad if I didn't have an answer, but it's not necessarily a free answer because people pay annually to get our training. So that's kind of how that goes. So if you have questions about the how to get the video training, once again, a reminder. If you go to fmtraining.tv and you go to bundles, then you can either get the video-only bundle or the complete bundle. And if you're looking for a coupon, you want 2 years on this or a coupon on this, let us know. Send an email to support. We will give you a coupon for that. Megan says it's 100% worth it. See, a lot of times people ask questions. We've covered it, but it's not in our daily live streams per se. It's in the paid course. So, all right, cool. Well, that's about it I have. Unless anyone has any final questions. Ruben said he's glad he's not Kyle. Kyle's pretty awesome. He just gets, everyone gets excited about different things. I get excited about FileMaker and training people and aviation. Kyle gets excited about JSON. So I don't know what excited Kyle before JSON. But everyone has their little hot buttons, right? So Nick has a little like buzz thing, right? They could be like your hot button. You get excited about the button. Bzz, bzz, bzz. All right, that's it, folks. Appreciate it today. See you tomorrow. And don't forget your sample file because we posted it. And thanks to Andy. Good job, Andy. Andy, good job.
Thank you.
His first time in the lion's den with all the lions like licking their lips. See if they can eat a junior for breakfast. All right, have a good one.
Guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected the quarterback. Great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Try to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap, stands in, throws it left for Amendola, reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10, rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.